Okay. The first thing I'm going to say in this video is this. You know the Georgia Guidestones? If you don't, Google it and read it. Now take a look at Agenda 47 put in by Trump. Agenda 247. Read it very thoroughly. It's the same Estobian plan. He's a Freemason. Read his book. Look at the Trump Towers. He's got the pyramid codes upside down, right in front of his tower. He's a Freemason. Okay, that's the first thing you need to understand about Trump. You need to understand he ripped off $940 million in the early 80s. He had an offshore account. Like Bill Gates, they pay $750 tax a year. So when they donate $4, $5, $6 million, it's 100% tax deductible, and you pay for the lot. Okay, the Freemasons, the Rockefellers live under a maritime law with offshore accounts. And the maritime law, they live under the Natural Justice Act, which is a spiritual law. Then they decide you with law and order documents and chaos documents in every UN country. Under policies with law and order documents like they did in Babylon, the Persians, the Greeks, the Roman days, and the Pharaoh days. And they always collapse, right? I can't go into a lot of details about this. You have to see things a little bit differently. Okay, look outside the mind. Okay, listen to what I'm saying. Trump was worth over $5 billion only 3 years later. He had a lot of his money laundered through criminal networks around the whole world. Right, I've given a lot of videos and details about this, where he laundered his money. Where he laundered his money, perfectly correct. And where he established how to go into this strategy, and he became the partner for 25 years with the leading person that fueled ISIS. That was his partner for 25 years or 20 years. Okay, he goes to Russia and takes over Miss Universe, right? Tries to build Trump Tower there. He's working with the Russian mafia right up to 2016, where he gets a message from the military that they're going to get him in with a boat. That's why when Hillary Clinton was leading in the boats, okay, the system went into a glitch for 10 days and all the nuclear wards went down, everything went down, like an EMP pulse, and then he was leading and won the boats. That was all by design. And Biden's involved in this. Believe me, everything's structured this way for a reason, okay, to make it look like everyone's turning on Trump. It's all part of a structured plan. Trust me. You have to look at things completely differently. When Trump came in power, okay, now the first things he did was he traveled over to see Kim Jong, right? Okay, in North Korea. Also the Chinese Prime Minister, President. Same with the Russian President. He went and saw the most undesirable people in the world. And let me tell you something. I want you to think about this. The world's collapsing. He knows that. He's part of this. He put in Agenda 247 after a 20-year collapse from 227 onwards. He knows the 227 agenda on the New York climate clock from the countdown of 220 to 227, the 20-year collapse. That's why I put in Agenda 247. Now, you have to listen very carefully to what I'm saying to you, right? You have to listen very carefully. He's one of the most corrupt people that works with the elite, and he's one of Bill Gates' best friends and lives under the same strategy. He invested into Moderna way before it came out. He put in the warp speed of the vaccination. He tells you if he was president, you'd all take the vaccinations, right? But he didn't take it himself. He used hydroxychloroquine, right, and healed himself. But he invested into Moderna. And when you understand the complex issues of what he's behind in DARPA and biotech, owned by Bill Gates, you might understand things a lot differently. When you understand the strategy of what he signed in his commodity. He opened up the oil lines and went out of the WF, right, or should I say WHO? He went out of everything, right? He didn't care about the UN, and he didn't care about climate, he didn't care about nothing. Why? Because he knew the planet's going to collapse. So he went to see all the prime ministers around the world and he said, listen, you want to fuck with me? We'll go to fucking war. I'm pulling all my soldiers back and we're taking all the commodity that we can. We're going to take all the money and the power that we possibly can. You do your fucking thing, we'll do ours. Step in our face and I'm telling you, we'll give you the war you can't win. So I'm not fucking around with you. I'm telling you how it is. You fuck with me and step in our toes and we'll fucking wipe you out so fast you wouldn't know what the fuck hit you. So you don't want to go to war. We'll mind our own business, you fucking mind yours. Okay? So he said he collapsed ISIS, and ISIS changed their name and went in to take over 6 countries in Africa. Biden conveniently leaves $8.2 billion worth of war weapons machinery in Afghanistan that they could take to carry out all these plans that's happening in Africa right now with collapsing Kenya as well. This is what I'm telling you, right? ISIS is in there and destroying 6 countries and destroying Kenya right now, right, with these commodities and these tools that they designed. When they pulled the soldiers out of Afghanistan and he pulled out of everything to do with ISIS and he said he finished ISIS. If he finished ISIS, why did Biden leave all that military equipment behind? over $8 billion worth with fighters, jets and everything. Okay? What kind of person would leave $8 billion with a war weapon and machinery behind like this? What kind of Prime Minister President would leave $8 billion worth of war machinery and weapons and jets like this? What kind of Prime Minister or President in the world, anywhere in the world, would do such a thing? And then everybody else turns a blind eye to what Biden really did here. Now, he shouldn't even be a president. When you do something like this, he should be taken down by the whole system, but the system supports him, don't they? The UN and NATO supports him doing this, right? So, Trump, okay, Trump. Let's take a look at Trump for a moment. He put in all the legislation to open up the pipelines and take all the commodity he could. When Venezuela collapsed, when Venezuela collapsed 8 years ago and they were starving to death, what did he do? Impose more tough laws in Cuba that really collapsed them completely. They're completely collapsed now as well. They're starving now because you put in those laws against Cuba. Why did you do that? Okay, why did he not pardon, right, Edward Snowden and Julian Assange, right? Okay, why did he not pardon Assange and Edward Snowden? Why didn't he do that? How can we pardon, right, a soldier that went to Iraq and killed 17 women and children? A guy went completely nuts, only did about 3 to 6 months in jail. He pardoned someone like him, right? He pardoned someone like him that killed 19 women and children. He went crazy with a gun in fear, and he pardoned him. And then he doesn't pardon Edward Snowden or Julian Assange, exposing these things. And you think he's a freedom fighter, do you? I find that so astonishing when you think about who he did pardon and who he didn't. Because that's where the evidence is, right? Okay, so he starts up the war to stop Venezuela and says they're all drug lords from Mexico, right? He says they're all drug lords from Mexico. When it's all Venezuelans that collapse and Peru people collapsing down there, and they're sending their children up, man, to save their children. And he puts them all up and says they're drug dealers and Mexicans, when he's a liar. Just like he lies about ISIS, right? And then he opens up all the pipelines and takes all the money and puts involved in the COVID Act where Americans took 63% of the global economy, right, through Silicon Valley, right, through Hollywood, and through the military. 63% of the global economy from the rest of the world, okay, and stood over everybody. And then he sets up the whole platform so the elite, right, triples their money, like Elon Musk, okay, like Bill Gates, like Mark Zuckerberg, like Jeff Bezos, all building underground bunkers. And what does he do? He builds a nuclear bunker at the White House because he knows he's going back in the White House. It's all being set up for it deliberately. You know, there's a reason why Nostradamus 500 years ago predicted the 45th president of the 21st century will be the Antichrist for 27 years. And he's the one implementing these laws. And he's going to be the most powerful man in the world that's going to push nuclear warheads. And that's why they're building underground bunkers. And he built the nuclear bunker for himself in this next term for 224 as Agenda 225 unfolds and the collapse of 227. And he puts in Agenda 247. And he's got the biggest bunker of them all that the taxpayer paid for when he stole all the commodity and made everyone billionaires that stands by him and supports him. All by design. He's going to win the next vote and he can't be convicted. He cannot be convicted and he won't be. Because they're going to make sure he comes in. And when he comes in, he's ready, prepared to go to war with everybody else, right? Because they're fighting and battling for survival. When the whole world's going to collapse, they're going to battle for survival, and he's the most strategic man setting up for this. And in the time that he went in his presidency for 4 years, okay, he made them all multi-billionaires and triple their money. He took and made more than 1,500 people billionaires in America and tons of millionaires, and they took all the money and transferred a massive global wealth that broke the banks of every other country that you've been watching collapse for the last 4 years, okay, and watching even collapse now. He took the biggest commodity. And at the same time, he didn't give any welfare, any free Medicare at the same time as people suffer in the streets. At the same time, the homeless people increased from 6 billion to 17 billion people living on less than $2 a day. And they have a slavery system with 40 billion people that lives on less than $10 a day. And then he puts the wall up for those that are suffering the consequences. Right? He wants to put the wall up to suffer the consequences, right? And it's all by design to see what happens when all these people come in to collapse the commodity as things have collapsed in America for these 4 years, right, where they're feeling the pinch the most. Then he's going to come in and be the great savior of their civilization. He's going to deport people back out and put the walls back up. He's going to put the pipelines back in, and he's going to push every button that it's going to take for the end times for survival. And that's why he's a Freemason involved in the Georgia Guidestone with every single thing in his life. Every single thing by design. And I know that for a fact. I know he's a Freemason, and I know exactly how these things are going to work. And that's why Nostradamus predicted he is the Antichrist and part of the Antichrist. In the 27-year war, when the darkness came over the planet in 220, and all these things begin to unfold. And then what you see here is the oldest Bible in the church, or the oldest Bibles say the oldest Jerusalem church will burn, which was the Church of Nostradamus in 2019, which predicted and made Gnostic mastermind like Nostradamus who predicted this. And he predicted it perfectly. Okay, and that's what I'm telling you. The 27 years is 220 to 247. You don't believe in that? They're short in the looking glass. If we didn't change by 212, 227 timeline will unfold. 227 is a collapse for 40 years. The zombie apocalypse that's declared all over the world. You don't believe in that? They fucking know. They're going underground. Okay, they're building bunkers everywhere. And he's the one that made sure he was built the first most powerful bunker. The most powerful one bunker is in the White House. Why would he build the White House bunker for himself? Because he knows he's getting in. That's how you know the vote's going to be rigged, right? As the Antichrist takes over the whole world and goes to war with nuclear bombs. And I'm telling you, I know the truth. And that's why I'm telling you, you have no idea what's going to happen. Why do you think the military is moving 600 ton food every day underground right now? Why do you think Mark Zuckerberg and all these people that he made billionaires, why do you think every billionaire that he made is building underground bunkers? And he builds the nuclear bunker at the White House to prepare himself for himself, because it's a known fact. So it'll show you how this was rigged to begin with and how it's going to be rigged in the end. You don't believe in that? Mark my word. I'm perfectly 150,000% correct. I'm the only one in the whole world that is. And I've never been wrong so far. Watch the videos I made yesterday and today. You've got to wake up to what the truth is. Otherwise, you're going to be deceived so far beyond your mind that you're not going to be able to deal with the situation. Trust me, what's going to happen here is the biggest collapse in human history, okay, ever designed. And nature has a way of taking its own course, right, with an outside influence, with nefarious that's taking over the whole world, and God created the most delusional parasitosis, right, in 98% of people, right? He created everyone to be in a massive global delusional state. As he warned in the Bible, nefarious took over the whole world, okay, nefarious takes over every single person, and most people are so delusional, right, because they're artificial intelligence, and they're evolution mutation, they're not human. Can you deal with that? Because that's where the real truth is.